Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning into Monroeville Government Channel TV 15 broadcast of Meet the Candidates. My name is Tim Little, and I'm a Monroeville Municipal Manager. I will be your host for this evening's event. This will hopefully be an event each municipal election year to allow the residents of Monroeville and those interested beyond the borders to have an opportunity to get to know the candidates who are running for an elected seat in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. Meet the Candidates Night is a studio format. No public attendance due to the apprehension of a possible large number of people attending the event and not being able to adhere to COVID restrictions. TV 15 hopes you find this event informative and that it assists you in choosing who you believe will be the future leadership of Monroeville. There are 10 candidates running for 6 seats in this year's municipal elections. They are comprised of seats for council, the mayor, and the tax collector. Of the 7 council seats in Monroeville, there are 4 seats in the election year in wards 1, 3, 5, and 7. Each candidate has been given a biographical questionnaire form to complete and return with a photograph. You will see each candidate's profile and picture on your screen throughout tonight's forum. The candidates have already been informed of the 2 questions they will be asked. Question number 1, why have you run for your elected seat? Question number 2, if elected, what 2 issues will you address in the Municipality of Monroeville? Each candidate will have 5 minutes to answer those 2 questions. The order in which each candidate will answer these 2 questions will be determined by drawing the ward numbers from this whiteboard to my left and taking the ward and putting them in the clear ward jars on the table. If multiple candidates are running for one elected seat, then the names of the ward will be taken from the whiteboard and placed in the candidate's jar. Placing the wards and the names in the jars will be Dara Brown. Dara Brown is our administrative assistant here in Monroeville. To begin this evening's event, I will introduce each candidate briefly. While I introduce the candidates, Dara will place the ward numbers and the candidates in the jar. Starting with ward number 1, Mr. Millen Adams, Democrat. Mr. Adams unfortunately could not be in attendance tonight because he had a previous engagement. Also in ward number 1, Mr. Joseph Hizzy, a Democrat. In ward number 3, there are 3 candidates, Mr. Robert Stevenson, a Democrat. Also in ward number 3 is Mr. John Patrick Washington, a Democrat. Also is Mr. Len Young, a Republican. Running in the mayor's seat is the incumbent, Dr. Nicholas Griesok. He is running unopposed. In ward number 5 is Mr. Michael Adams. Mr. Adams also could not be in attendance tonight because he had a previous engagement. Also running in ward number 5 is Mr. Gregory Arasinko. He is also a Democrat. In ward number 7 is attorney Mr. Dennis Biondo. He is also running unopposed and he is a Democrat. And for tax collector is Mr. Pat Fulkerson, the incumbent, and he is a Democrat also, and he is running unopposed. Gentlemen, please remember to speak into the microphone when you answer your question. Remember, you have 5 minutes to answer the 2 questions. And we will begin as soon as Dara is placing the wards in the jar to see which elected seat will go first. Also, each candidate has put on their questionnaire what 3 words describe Monroeville, and I will read those, and they will also be on the graphic that appears on the public at home on their screen. And the first elected seat will be the mayor, Dr. Nicholas Griesok. Dr. Nicholas Griesok is the current mayor in Monroeville. His party affiliation is a Democrat. He has lived in Monroeville for 18 years. He has a Bachelor of Science from the University of Pittsburgh and a doctorate from the New York Chiropractic College. His occupation is a chiropractor. As mentioned, he's the current mayor. He is also the former deputy mayor, formal council person. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are family-oriented, convenience, and growing. Dr. Griesbach, why are you running for the mayor's seat, and what two issues will you address in Monroeville if you are reelected?
Well, first off, good evening, everyone. I want to start with thanking our municipal manager, Tim Little, and our department head, Jared Robinson of TV15 for putting on this program this evening, and the staff. It's a lot of hard work to put on such an event, and I just want to thank them for putting it on. It's a very important event to learn about our local candidates. I believe we actually have a lot of great candidates for council. Also, I believe we have a lot of great candidates for our school board, so I want to thank each and every one of them for volunteering to put their names on the ballot and try to help out the community. As far as why I have run for the mayor's position and why I ran for council in general was to give back to the community and to conduct public service, something I've always been interested in. I was elected 2 times to Monroeville Council. I served my first full term, and then half my second term I was deputy mayor, and then left that term for the mayor's seat whenever there was a vacancy. And now I'm asking the residents of Monroeville to give me a chance for a second term of 4 years in the mayor's position. I will continue to conduct our business meetings in a professional manner. I will always advocate for Monroeville, both locally and at a county level and a state level. And I will always add a positive and an advocate for Monroeville in a positive fashion throughout Monroeville and represent Monroeville in a positive way. And those things are very important, in the mayor's position as far as how they represent the entire community. But the main thing as far as why I ran initially was just for public service and to give back to the community. So I think Monroeville is a great place to run a business, and it's a great place to raise a family, and I happen to be doing both of those here in Monroeville. And I think the way to maintain that is 2 ways. And my 2 goals are to continue to foster our relationships throughout the community with our organizations, our local organizations, our school board members, our teachers, our churches, our sports organizations, our Chamber of Commerce, our business community. To foster these relationships and to maintain them are very important, because what really makes up a community is the people. And without all the people working together, Monroeville wouldn't be where it is and where it wants to go. The next thing I want to do is to continue to advocate for our services here in Monroeville. That starts with everything that our government services provide. That is our public safety, our police department. I'm not in favor of defunding our police in any way. I want to continue to advocate for our first responders, our dispatch center, and those are things that are extremely important as far as the foundation of our community. I also want to continue to advocate our services for our Public Works Department. They're the ones that maintain our community year-round, all 4 seasons. Also, our human services in our library, our Senior Citizen Center, and our Parks and Recreation Department. So the services from a municipal standpoint, that's what attracts families to our community. That's what our lifelong residents have always enjoyed in our community. We have a lot of lifelong residents that are running for council. We also have people that are newer to the community that are running for council.
You have 30 seconds, Mayor.
So I want to continue to advocate for our services to maintain those, because that's what's the foundation of our community. It's what we provide and how we provide it. And when we do that, we attract good families, which leads to attracting businesses, and we all benefit whenever those 2 things happen.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, we will select the next elected seat, and that is Ward 3, which has multiple candidates. So now we will select which candidate in Ward 3 will go first. Mr. Bob Stevenson. Mr. Stevenson, why have you run for elected office, and what are the two issues that you will address? But let me first read your bio here, and the people at home can see that on the graphic. Mr. Stevenson is running for the 3rd Ward Council seat. He is a Democrat. He has lived in Monroeville for 11 years. He is a Penn Hills High School graduate with some college credits. He is a retired building official and public service out of Jonestown, Texas. He has worked in the public service for 30 years. Jobs from street department, water, wastewater, code enforcement, building inspection, and a short time as a city manager. And he has served on several boards in the Municipality of Monroeville. Currently, he is the chairman of the Planning Commission. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are my hometown. Mr. Stevenson.
Hello, and thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Bob Stevenson, and I'm a candidate for 3rd Ward Council seat. I've been a resident of Monroeville for 11 years. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm a past board of director of Gold Star American Legion Post 820 in Monroeville. I'm also a past commander of American Legion Post 980 in Plum. I have over 35 years of municipal and city government experience. I have held most positions from entry level up to and including acting city manager, and most jobs in between. I have served on 3 boards in Monroeville in the past 10 years. The first was the Ethics Board. The second was the Planning and Zoning Board, and I'm currently on the Planning Commission. I feel in my heart that with 35 years' experience, I can better serve Monroeville on the council rather than on boards and commissions. I have the endorsement of our current 3rd Ward Councilman, Ron Harvey, as well as his full support, and I thank him for that. You may not know that Monroeville has term limits, unlike our federal government, and Ron is termed out. If this was a normal election, I would try to meet all of you and ask for your support. But as you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I will not put anyone in danger by visiting. I will reach out to you in other ways. I'm proud of our Public Works Department, and as you know, they do a fantastic job on snow removal and salting, and second to none in garbage collection. We have a wonderful Parks Department, as well as our Library and Senior Citizen Center. They are great places to visit, as well as our Convention Center also, and they have many functions that everyone should try to attend. I stand behind our Police Department, Fire, and EMS 100%, as I do behind the administration in this building. In conclusion, I thank you all for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I hope I have gained your support and your vote. I am not only seeking the Democratic vote tonight, I am asking for Republican support also. All you need to do is write in my name, Bob Stevenson. It's important to vote for the most qualified candidate in the election, regardless of your party affiliation. I believe that I am the most qualified person in this campaign for 3rd Ward. Please vote for me on May 18th. One last item. We are in the middle of a pandemic. I have got 2 shots. I urge everyone to get their shots. It'll help end this thing and we can get back to a normal life. The main reason I want to run for council is because I believe I have the experience needed to move everything forward. Secondly, I believe we need to hold spending down, not raise taxes, and maintain services that we have currently. The last item I have is traffic. We all know Monroeville traffic is not good. We don't have a lot of say in that. We have state roads.
Yeah, 1 minute, Mr. Stevenson.
We have state roads, we have county roads, and we have municipal roads. I think we need to take a much closer look at synchronizing the lights to move traffic a little better than it moves right now. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. We will now pull out for the next candidate in the 3rd Ward. Mr. John Patrick Washington.
Alphabetical.
Okay, Mr. John Patrick Washington is running for the council seat in the 3rd Ward. His party affiliation is a Democrat. He has been a resident for 30 years. He's a Gateway High School graduate, 1986, and he's also a graduate of the Virginia Military Institute in 1990 with a BA in history. His occupation, he is self-employed with interior painting and remodeling contractor. His relevant experience is over 25 years of serving the community, mainly through athletics and as a volunteer. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are vibrant, convenient, and pluralistic. Mr. Washington, why are you running for your office, and what 2 issues would you address if you are elected?
Thank you, Mr. Little. Thank you, everybody, for having me here tonight. Can't remember the last time I was on TV, so I'm happy to be here. The main reason that I'm running is because I really love Monroeville. I love this part, this area. I grew up in Pitcairn, moved to Monroeville, married a girl from Monroeville. I've owned 4 homes here, had 4 opportunities to leave, and never did. As you mentioned, I went to Gateway. I coached there for many years. I've been involved for over 25 years coaching and as a volunteer through Little League, softball, girls and boys basketball. And dealing with all those different people and all those different dynamics, I feel has given me the experience I would need to help serve Monroeville in a different capacity. I've probably coached so many people's kids that there's probably one on every street in Monroeville as I went through looking for places to put signs. I have 2 children, Nicolette and Jack. They both went to Gateway. They had a great experience up there at the high school. And I just want to give back to the community. I'm fair-minded, I'm unselfish, and I like to give back, and I have a service personality, I guess you would say. I've always been agreeable and easy to deal with. So, as far as the 2 things that I'd really like to focus on as a member of council, it's being positive and promoting the positivity of living in Monroeville. Like the mayor was talking about the services that Monroeville offers, the location, the parks, all of these wonderful things that we have. It's really about our return on investment. When we get into talking about taxation and things of that nature, what are you getting for living in Monroeville and participating in what we have to offer here? And I think it's unmatched compared to anywhere else. Secondly, I just like to be involved with our comprehensive plan as far as moving Monroeville forward, and hopefully working with the district, working with neighboring communities, so that, again, we can build on all these positives. Because I think we've done a wonderful job. You people that are on council now, I think have done a very, very good job with the way things are running now. Of course, everything can be a little bit better, and I'd just like to be a part of that moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Washington. And obviously, the last candidate in Ward 3, no surprise, Mr. Len Young, who is a Republican running in that seat. Mr. Len Young is running, obviously, for Municipal Council seat number 3. His party affiliation is Republican, and he has lived in Monroeville for 57 years. He is a graduate of Gateway High School, and he has some college at Penn State University. He has his own landscaping business, and his relevant experience is solving problems for people in his business. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are my hometown. Mr. Young, why are you running for your seat in the 3rd Ward, and what 2 issues would you address if you were so elected?
Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate this opportunity, speaking to residents of Monroeville. Why am I running? I'm going to take it right out of the Times Express here. I've lived in Monroeville almost all my life. The community's been good to me, my family, and friends. I feel the need to give back in the form of helping citizens and businesses to solve their problems, present positive positions on issues that affect them, and make visitors comfortable in Monroeville also. The two main issues that I'd like to address as a future council person is fiscal responsibility and rebuilding the business base. Just a quick history of my situation. My parents moved here to Monroeville in 1959, lived in a little duplex over on Colonial Drive for about a year, then moved to Bowling Green Drive, lived there till 1973. I remember well playing kickball and baseball out in the street out front. A lot of good times back then. Down in Beechwood Park, we used to spend a lot of time down there too. Then in 1973, like the Jeffersons, my parents moved on up to Monticello Drive and graduated from Gateway High School in 1975. Went to Barron College, campus of Penn State up in Erie for 1 year. And I wanted to work. I didn't really want to go to school anymore. I knew it all, right? Especially 18 years old, you know it all. Came back home, did some odd jobs, and I started working in my father's jewelry store in 1976. I worked there for 18 years, last 8 years as the manager of the store, until he retired in 1994. Him and my mom moved down to Florida. 89 years old, still kicking ass and taking names, as they say. I got married in 1982. Again, still lived in Monroeville. Actually, I lived in a basement apartment behind the car wash. Remember where the car wash used to be, where the Sheetz is now, 1976. And then moved to a house, 1979, out in Plum. I lived there for 3 years in Plum Borough. Still worked in Monroeville, of course. And then 1982, I got married, bought a house on Knollwood Drive, raised my 2 sons there in the cul-de-sac. It was a wonderful experience. Great place to raise my kids, not just here in Monroeville, but just a great place altogether. 1994, as I said, my father retired. I was out of a job. Sold real estate for 3 years. Didn't really do too good at that, and then started my landscaping business in 1998, and I haven't stopped since. Why is my business successful? Because I satisfy my customers. In fact, customer we just worked at yesterday.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Young.
Okie dokie. Mine says 2, but that's okay. He said I've exceeded his expectations. Big job we did. Glad to get it done. With regard to fiscal responsibility, that's how you run a successful business. You got money coming in, you got money going out. And I'm successful at managing funds. Certainly my budget isn't as big as Monroeville's budget, but the concepts are all the same. Got money coming in and money going out. Would hope to rebuild the business base here in Monroeville. A lot of empty stores right now. Certainly there's opportunities for that to improve. The Monroeville Mall, I worked there 18 years. A lot of you old timers like myself remember Christmas time, you couldn't find a parking spot up there. And now it's somewhat in decline, but I certainly would like to work with them and try to get the mall back to maybe not what it was, but at least to try to improve that so it's better in the future. One last thing I wanted to say was some people are talking about defunding the police. I have a one-letter change to that expression. Change that U to an E. I will not defund the police. I will defend the police. And a quick story real quick. They actually saved my son's life in 2004. He was on drugs, was stealing purses, got arrested, went to jail. He spent 5 months in jail, and it saved his life. Thank God they caught him. That's all I can say. A lot of other issues, but I guess that's about it for tonight. Please vote for me in next week, and then November, of course. And thank you for this opportunity again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Okay, we will move on to the next elected seat. In Ward number 1, Mr. Joe Hizzy. Mr. Hizzy is running for the council seat in the 1st Ward. His party affiliation is a Democrat. He has lived in Monroeville for 62 years. He is a graduate of Gateway High School and 2 years at CCAC, Currently, he is a foreman at the Monroeville Water Authority. His relevant experience is that on the Democratic Committee, he has worked all through with the First Ward people since the age of 19. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are diverse, growing, and a treasurer. Mr. Hizzy, why are you running for the First Ward Council seat, and what 2 issues would you address if you were elected?
All right, Tim, thank you for inviting me to this little meet the candidates. I'm a Democrat. I'm running because I bring something that a lot of the other members don't bring. I'm a hands-on type person. I've worked for Public Works for 45 years. I mean, 25 years. I worked for the Water Authority for 20 years. I am very hands-on. I will be there. I know there's a lot of problems with infrastructure and everything, and I believe I could bring a whole different view, being with my experience in that I have. I also work a lot I was a fire chief for 22 years in Monroeville, a fireman for almost 50 years. I very wholeheartedly support the fire departments, our police, our ambulance services. I back very highly the senior center. I believe in our seniors. I believe in the young Parks and Recreation department we have, and the kids that work, playing that ball in that here. I volunteer a lot of my time to them. I've been married for 39 years now. I have 3 children that I've raised through the Gateway School District, and I got 2 grandchildren now going to the Gateway School District. I really see a lot of change in Monroeville coming. Some of it not for the good, for the thing, like Bob said here, traffic is one of our biggest issues. I don't know how to get rid of, really help with that, but I'd really like to sit down with the state because that's their problem that we're having right now. But like Len says, businesses. Business is a big thing in Monroeville. I'd like to see more business and sit down with the mall, with different businesses, and bring them into Monroeville other than what we have now. It's a very easy way. I just keep spending down. Like I said in the beginning, I'm a hands-on kind of guy, and I'll be here for the residents of Monroeville. I've worked all these years for them, and I will always be here for them. That's all I got, Tim.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hizzy. Okay, the next elected seat. Ward number 7, Mr. Dennis Biondo. Mr. Dennis Biondo is running for the 7th Ward Council seat. He is a Democrat. He has lived in Monroeville for 33 years. He's a graduate of Gateway High School. He's a graduate of Slippery Rock University and has a law degree from Duquesne University. Currently, his occupation is Assistant Allegheny County Solicitor. He is a former Vice Chair of the Monroeville Planning Commission, and his 3 words to describe Monroeville are diverse, lively, and busy. Mr. Biondo, why are you running for office, and what 2 issues would you address if you were elected?
First, I would like to say thanks, Tim, for putting this on, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'll introduce myself first. My name's Dennis Biondo, for those of you that don't know me. As I believe Mr. Stevenson said, this is kind of a different election this year. So if I haven't been to your door and I haven't met you and you're in the 7th Ward, I'm sorry. I hope to do so over the summer and before November. The reason I'm running today or this year is because I am one of those people that is always complaining about the people that, I always complain about what's going on in government, and I would like to, I'm one of those people that wants to see the younger generation of people start to take responsibility and get involved in the community. I'm 36 years old. I'm not that young anymore, but I'm also not that old. I think I have 2 children of my own, very young children. They're 15 months old. I would like to see Monroeville continue to be a great place to grow up and live with places to go and things to do while they're while they're growing, while they're in school. One of the other reasons I'm running for council is because I think I have a unique experience already in government. I was an assistant public defender right out of law school. I actually interned for Senator Logan, Senator Sean Logan, when he was a state senator, and I am now a assistant county solicitor. I work with governments, different departments in governments every day, whether that's public works, the county, it's called the Parks Department, Parks and Rec, or I do the jail, and I also work with the county police. I think that's something that I can bring to council. I think that would be something that would be good for Monroeville and the members of the 7th Ward. The two issues that I would address, and I think one of them's already been brought up, and I'll start with that one, the services. Monroeville provides a lot of great services. I don't think people take them for granted, but I think people don't think about them a lot. The services that are provided in Monroeville cost money. We have great garbage collectors. The roads are always plowed. They're in good shape. Those things, that stuff's not free. The parks are taken care of. I think that we need to continue the great services that we have here and try to do so without raising taxes. The other issue is a little bit different. I think that one of the words I used, and I think there's a number of, a couple other people who use this word too, to describe Monroeville, is diverse. Monroeville is a very diverse community, but one of the things you don't see, and look, I'm not a director, but if you panned out here, you're going to see what all the candidates here, we're looking at a lot of white males. I myself am also a white male. I do represent a little bit of a younger generation, but I would like to see more diversity in the representation of Monroeville. I think one of the ways we can do that on council is in the boards, commissions, and authorities. There, at the beginning of the meetings, not the beginning of the meeting, towards the beginning of every meeting, there are nominations and appointments for the committees, authorities, and boards. I would like to see us recruit and put more people, more diverse people on those boards, whether they be people of color, women, younger people. I just would like to see more diversity on those boards. That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Biondo. Okay, our next elected seat, tax collector, Mr. Patrick Fulkerson. Mr. Fulkerson is the current tax collector. His party affiliation is Democrat. He's been a Monroeville resident for 44 years. He has a BS in accounting and is a certified public accountant. His relevant experience is 20 years of being a tax collector. Mr. Fulkerson, why are you running for office, and what two issues in the tax office would you want to address if you are reelected?
I want to thank Jim for inviting me. I don't usually get invited to anything, but this is one of the nice.
About that off record.
And before I start into my presentation, we had a death. One of the ladies in my office, her husband died over the weekend. Oh, not over the weekend, on Tuesday, and I want to give my condolence to her and the people that are around. It was just devastating in our office for the last 3 or 4 days. A little bit, I think people talk about businesses in Monroeville, and they're downplaying it. I have been here so long that I have been going through ups and downs of this community. Back in the early 2000, people looked at Monroeville, and it was the research center of the East. We had U.S. Steel, we had Westinghouse, we had a lot of different places to do research. That came to an end. And then people started saying, oh, that's going to be ruin the nation, of this community. Well, it never did. This community came back. This community is strong. It is viable. You can look at the homes right now. What they're selling for in the East is amazing. Monroeville is a really unique community. We got strong businesses, which you can see by my collections, that are outstanding. Also, at the same time, the home values are all going up. That is fantastic. We live in a good community. Why I'm running? Because I think that my staff and myself are doing a great job. You can also see that in what we have done in the last 4 years. We probably brought in more than $5 million above our budget numbers. And that's really a great number. And the reason is because I have a great staff. And because of that, I would like to be reelected because I like working with these people and I like working in this community. This community is great. I enjoy people coming in my office. I love talking to them. I love communicating with them, joking with them. That's my style, and I just enjoy it. And basically, I wish my name was smaller so people would be able to write it in easier. But it's a long name, and so if you give me a try writing my name on both parties. I thank you very much. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fulkerson. And our last elected seat is Mr. Gregory Arasinko. Mr. Arasinko is running for the 5th Ward Council seat. His party affiliation is Democrat. He has lived in Monroeville for 32 years. His education is he graduated from McKeesport Senior High School and also the George Meany Labor Studies in Washington, D.C. He is retired from the Department of Veterans Administration. His relevant experience is 20 years legislative experience with the Department of Veterans Administration, 10 years on the Monroeville Zoning Hearing Board, 4 years on the Gateway School Board, 10 years as mayor of Monroeville. He's a current councilman in the 5th Ward. He also has 11 years chairman of the Allegheny County Southeast Tax Commission, 10 years on the Allegheny County Boroughs Association, 2 years on the Pennsylvania State Boroughs Association. His 3 words to describe Monroeville are quality of life. Mr. Arasinko, why are you running for the 5th Ward Council seat, and what 2 issues would you address if you were reelected?
As everybody has said, Mr. Little, thank you for putting this together with our TV staff. Jared and your staff, you do a wonderful job with this. The reason I'm running for re-election, I should say, as a councilman for the 5th Ward is that I've always believed in giving back or service. If you look at my background, when I got out of the service, I worked in the Department of VA, and I took care of hundreds and hundreds of our veterans, from the Spanish-American Veteran Ward to one of the few that were alive when I first got in, to the Gulf War veterans. And I've always believed in public service. That is the main, and the other reason is that this is my hometown. I've lived here for 32 years. My wife, Holly, of 37 years, is a lifelong resident. And my real goal with Monroeville is always to keep it healthy and to keep it safe. I support all our services, our police department, fire, EMS, senior center, library, and it's just, we have our public department, you know, we have wonderful services, and I intend on keeping them. 2 issues I have. The one is, and I'm not nobody really brought it up, it has to do with the post-pandemic issues that we're going to face physically. In other words, our money. In the next couple of years, and I hope that it's not as gloomy as some try to put out there, I do think Monroeville, as Mr. Fulkerson has said, is very, very healthy. But I think whoever, and I certainly hope I'm the 5th Ward Council and my colleagues, whoever they be, whoever you decide to put in office, we're going to have some real tough decisions to make. I agree. I am not a big supporter of raising taxes. If you look back on my record of the last almost 4 years as councilman, and because of the mayor's good work and the current council as well, the administration, we've not raised taxes once. I think we have to be very wise with your money. I try to treat it like it's my money. And the post-pandemic coming up, I don't know what the future brings, but I think we're going to have to be very wise stewards of the money. Second issue is, and again, we talked about it a little bit, and it has to do with our business district, our residents, and I agree. We have, as Mr. Biondo said, we have a wonderfully diverse community. I don't know if everybody's aware, we have over 22 dialects at our high school. 22 different. And you know what that means to me? That means to me that our kids growing up here, that's what that's what the world's made out of. It's not any one race, any one creed. It's everybody. And we really have that kind of community. My goal is to always support our community that way. But also to keep it safe for I will never support defunding police. I will never look to cut any of our services. We're just going to have to be good stewards of what we do. The real issue is that keeping Monroeville healthy means we have to attract more young people. And I couldn't agree more. Again, I hate to beat you up, Dennis, but he's right. We need to get more young people involved in government, and in elected positions especially, because they do bring a good perspective. I hope we're on that page, but I think these younger people like Dennis does bring a lot of new energy, good energy for us. That is my goal. Keep Monroeville healthy, keep it safe, try to attract the younger people into Monroeville, because that's the only way we're going to grow, and we certainly have to support our businesses. Thank you, Mr. Little, for allowing me to have a few words to say. And please vote for me on May 18th, this coming Tuesday, as well as November. Thank you. Thank you, and good night.
Okay, now we will have closing comments from each candidate. An opportunity for a brief closing comment. We will select the candidates in reverse order in which they have answered their initial question. And each candidate will just have 1 minute to offer a closing comment on their views of Monroeville and the election. And obviously, since we're going in reverse order, we will start with Mr. Gregory Arasinka, who just finished. Closing comments, 1 minute, Mr. Arasinka.
Okay. First off, as far as Monroeville, I think I just touched on it, but we have to work hard as council with the administration to keep Monroeville healthy. What I offer to the Fifth Ward residents, as well as Monroeville, is a steady hand. You all have seen me and known me many years on this council. I'm all about you, our residents, and our business. We've got to stay healthy. Thank you all for even considering me. Again, please vote for me this coming Tuesday. And Mr. Little, that's all I have to say.
Okay, Mr. Patrick Fulkerson, 1 minute for a closing comment.
All right. I would like to tell you that I forgot to tell you that I'm a Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart winner. I've been on council for a couple years, basically. And I also at the same time is that the tax collector doesn't make ordinance or laws. They only collect money. And that's what the tax collector does. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fulkerson. Okay, next is Mr. Dennis Biondo. Closing comments, 1 minute, please.
The first thing I have to do, I think, is I have to thank Mr. Arasinka over here for mentioning me a number of times, giving me the name recognition that I don't have. Secondly, I would just ask that you do consider voting for me. I know I do appear young. I am young, but I do have some experience with government, and I would appreciate a vote in May. If you are a Republican, there's nobody running for the Republican seat in the 7th Ward. You can write me in. But Mr. Stevenson did get something wrong. You don't just write me in. You also have to fill in the bubble next to the write-in, and I would appreciate if you would do that. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Joe Hizzy, Ward 1, 1 minute, final comment.
I'd just like to thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I promised my residents in my ward that I will be there for you at all times. And I am a hands-on type of guy. It's something you probably haven't had in the council members in the last couple years. I'll be there for you, and I also running on a Democrat. There's nobody on the Republican side, and like Mr. Biondo said, please write my name in and fill out the little bubble. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hizzy. Next is Mr. Len Young in Ward 3, 1 minute, final comment.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Everybody gets the Times Express. You saw my little picture in here. Well, I don't have a whole lot of headshots, but this was actually taken at Mount Rushmore last year. In August, I was out in Sturgis, South Dakota, rode my motorcycle out there and back. I like riding my motorcycle, and I like climbing trees. I take risks, but God has imbued me with the ability to manage my risks properly. As a member of council, certainly we've got to make some bold decisions, and that is one of my abilities is able to make good decisions about things, especially with regard to the community. I am a member of the American Legion, Gold Star Post 820. Not as a veteran. If I could do it all over again, I probably would have signed up. But I'm actually a son of the American Legion, and I'm also a rider down there. I serve with the Honor Guard, where I go with several other members of the Legion, and we officiate at military funerals. It's a wonderful event. I don't make any money, but it's just being there, assisting with the funeral and giving the deceased the rights and honors that they deserve. It's a very moving thing. I've been doing it for about 8 years now. Other than that, please vote for me in Ward 3, and have a good night.
Okay, next is Mr. John Washington in Ward 3, 1 minute, please, final comment.
Thank you, sir. I just want to mention I'm the second youngest, if anybody was,
Wait a while.
if we're talking about age and stuff. Anyway, I appreciate the comments on diversity. I do think that's one of the things I've always loved about living in Monroeville is the different people that you experience and the diversity of our community. I also would plan to uphold all the services that everyone currently enjoys, as I think I mentioned the first time. Those of you that may be familiar with me, one of the things I did for the community, I started the lacrosse team at the high school. And I did it for 4 years when my son was there. And then I was the kind of person that when my son graduated, I stayed and did it for 4 more years. And I didn't get paid to do it until the end. And again, I was agreeable, I was fair. I think you can ask anybody that coached with me, any kids that played for me, that I have a good temperament, I stay professional, and that a vote for me would be well worth your time. So I'd appreciate your vote, and I'd also like to thank my wife, Pam, for letting me run for office. Because when I left lacrosse, when I decided to retire from coaching, I kind of had the itch where I wanted to be involved again because I enjoy the community and I feel like I have a good bit to offer. So I have to thank her for allowing me to do that. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate a vote. Have a good evening.
Okay, next, final comment, Mr. Bob Stevenson in Ward 3, 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Tim. I've been a blue-collar worker most of my life. I've worked hard. I'm not afraid of hard work. This council's going to have hard work in the next couple of years because of the pandemic. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasurable. I look forward to it. I've worked hard all my life. I'm willing to work hard for Monroeville. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. And finally, Dr. Nicholas Griesok. 1 minute, please, closing comment.
Yeah, I would just, once again, thanks for everybody for coming out, and I will continue to work hard for Monroeville, as I have over the past 10 years. I feel I have a lot of experience sitting up here, not only on council, but in the mayor's position. I don't consider myself to be a politician, but more of just a public servant, and I'll continue to do so, work hard for the community. I'm not a lifelong member or lifelong resident of Monroeville. I was a transplant, and what we need to do is continue to work on how we provide the great services for the lifelong residents that they've always enjoyed, and also to attract the next generation of families and those next homeowners and the next businesses to our community. So I hope to have everyone's support, and I'll continue to conduct myself in a professional manner. And as most mentioned, too, there are no other Republican candidates running for mayor, so my Republican friends can support me by checking the box and writing in my last name. So thank you and good night.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Griesbach. I'd like to thank the candidates for appearing this evening and wish each of them luck in this Tuesday's election. And thanks to you for watching as well, the public. Remember, tonight's broadcast will be replayed throughout this weekend leading up to the election next Tuesday, May 18th. Check the municipality's website at www.monroeville.pa.us or TV15's Facebook page at Monroeville TV Department for times when Meet the Candidates will be aired again. This broadcast will also be shown on the municipality's YouTube page. Search Municipality of Monroeville on YouTube to find this and all other televised meetings. And I would personally like to thank Mr. Jared Robinson, our TV director, and his staff for putting this on this evening. All the technical aspects of this in the background, there is a lot of work to it. Further, TV 15 reminds you to get out and vote. It is you, the residents, who run your local government. You set your local tax rates and you determine how your tax dollars are spent, all through your elected representatives. A list of polling locations for each ward throughout the municipality is being displayed right now on your screen. This list can also be found on the municipal website. The web address again is www.monroeville.pa.us. This concludes the event for this evening. I thank you and good night.